All right, first off, you need to know I haven't read the book It. Like, I have sequentially, in the course of the past couple years, picked up the book, read a bit, I'm like 1/3 of the way through, but nothing from It Chapter 2 yet, really, except for, you know, the introduction to the adult characters. The point of this is to inform you that if I bring something up in this review and I'm like, well, that didn't really work for me, if the answer you want to give when you get on your keyboard is, well, that's how it was in the book, please reference the beginning of this review right here. All right, let's do it. It Chapter 2. So It Chapter 2 is the sequel to It. It's actually half of the It book. That book is as big as a Bible, so they're like, yeah, we're splitting that movie into two halves. The first movie we'll call It Chapter 1 is the Losers Club, and they're all kids. They take on Pennywise, and now this is the sequel. 27 years later, all the kids are grown up. They gotta go back to Derry, take on Pennywise again, hopefully for good. First off, there's part of me that's like, let's talk about the casting later, but the casting in this movie is so good, I'm gonna talk about it now. Because my God, like, the adult versions of the kids are perfect. It's like, time travel's real. I don't think I've ever seen casting in a story, a movie, a show, and anything where the adults have to be the adult versions of kids that you also see, and it works so well. Like, the adults in this movie, you would swear are the adult versions of all the kids. The standout is, you've already heard it, Bill Hader is the standout, which completely makes sense because Bill Hader as Richie is the standout in It Chapter 2. Ben Wolfhard as Richie was a standout in It Chapter 1, so that just kinda does make sense. But everyone does a great job in this movie. I'm not going to list off all their names. I really should, out of respect. I just don't want to have my... Fine. Hold on. Give me a second. The ones I know. James McAvoy, Jessica Chastain, also did a great job. Or James Ransone, or is that Ransone or Ranson? Ransone. Pretty sure. No, he was great. Jay Ryan, Isaiah Mustafa. That's a sweet last name. I want the last name Mustafa. Sounds like Mufasa. Wait a minute. Is he the Old Spice guy? I need a minute. Some things blow my mind when I'm reviewing movies, and that was it. Anyhow, everyone does a really good job. Like, everyone in this movie, all the adults, they brought the same energy that the kids brought, but just matured it, and now it's 27 years later, so they have adult damage. It completely works. I will say this movie is long. Like, it's almost 3 hours long. And even though it's almost 3 hours long, and you do feel, yes, this is a 3 hour long movie, it's not like it flies by like, that was like an hour and a half, right? What, 3 hours? Crazy. Pacing. Now, it feels like a long movie. That's one of the things It Chapter 1 has over It Chapter 2. It Chapter 1, I could just pop in and watch anytime. Just like, all right, watch it. Great, awesome. It Chapter 2, I feel like it's one of those movies like, I gotta be in the mood to invest that kind of time and energy. Just the way it is. Like, I feel like It Chapter 1 it's a contained movie. It Chapter 2 is a longer movie that requires more of an investment, and it does require you watching It Chapter 1 first. But It Chapter 2 is in line with It Chapter 1. It Chapter 1 was a character movie. It wasn't just like, oh, the group of kids getting terrorized by this evil clown. Get away from the keyboards. No, he's not really a clown. It Chapter 2 is also a character piece. It's not like this clown is really actively coming after these adults all the time. Yeah, there are definitely some scenes where he does, but actually most of the Pennywise stuff is done in flashbacks. There are flashbacks where they kind of fill in some of the gaps of It Chapter 1 with the kids again. It shows like, oh, Pennywise was coming after them in these scenes that weren't actually in the movie. I guess the kids were de-aged because they're at that age where it's like, oh, it's been 2 years. They look like different humans now. So I guess they use CGI to de-age them. I'm gonna be honest with you, 100%. I didn't even notice. Like, I didn't even notice. I wasn't like, whoa, their faces look weird. It just, they looked young. It might be because there's some other CGI scenes in the movie where I'm like, that is really CGI. So my brain and my eyes were like, that's so CGI, the faces? No, it doesn't even look CGI, business as usual. It's all good. Maybe that's it. It's that rule of contrast happening right there. But I was really impressed with the fact that this movie brought heart when it needed to bring heart, brought the tears when it needed to bring the tears, in contrast to the fact that it's also really funny. I didn't expect that. Like, I'm watching this movie, I was like, this is one of the funniest movies I've seen this year. I didn't expect that in It Chapter 2. Not to say it doesn't have creepy things. It might be because I'm older now. It's like, I know this thing doesn't exist. I'm not going to be laying in bed and this this evil thing's gonna happen and turn into something I fear and try to kill me. I'm sure aging helps in that regard when watching movies like this. I wasn't that scared. There were some intense scenes. Yeah, it's like, ooh, drowning? Ah, drowning in blood, worse. All of this is to say that It Chapter 2 is essentially taking you on a character journey. It's an odyssey with these characters. It's not there to scare you, it's there to have you be fulfilled and see them go through this journey, see them relive something, see them being faced with the fact it's like, you're adults, you all have driver's licenses, you can leave. Like, that's the thing I'm glad they touched on. It's like, they're not kids, they're not stuck in this town. I really like that. So I like the fact that It Chapter 2, like It Chapter 1, is a character journey you have with these characters. You saw them as kids, you see them now as adults, and when you have Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 stacked with each other, you have yourself a pretty fulfilling, what would it be? 5-hour epic? Just about 5 hours long? That's pretty awesome. I actually feel like, even though this movie is about 3 hours long, I feel like there's an hour of this movie missing. I feel like there's just an hour somewhere. It's like there are gaps in there. There are things that were alluded to and things that were foreshadowed that you didn't actually see come to fruition. One quick one I'll touch on is there's a character in this movie, and I thought they were going to do so much more with this character, and really, nothing really with this character. I mean, it's one of those characters where if you took this character out of the movie entirely, the movie wouldn't change at all. This character, first and foremost, is one of the main reasons for my disclaimer at the beginning of this review. But really, I thought they were going to do so much more with this character. Maybe in the hypothetical 4-hour cut that may or may not exist, that I feel like might exist, maybe that character does more. But for this one, not really. There were a couple other things I was like, but that's spoiler territory, so none of that here. In the end, I'll say It Chapter 2, I really enjoyed it. I think It Chapter 1's the better movie. I feel like It Chapter 2 is a great companion piece to the first one. You put them together, you have yourself a solid epic. I will say It Chapter 2 was a great time, no alcohol required. If I'm giving my fantasy, if there's something I want to see, I would love to see a cut where it's It Chapter 1 and It Chapter 2 interwoven with each other like the book. Where it's like this, it's just the It supercut. It's just called It, which I guess is what the first movie's called. Whatever, I'd like to see that. Like Kill Bill, the whole bloody affair that I heard about like 15 years ago that just still has not happened. All right, so It Chapter 2, have you seen it? What did you think about it? Whatever you thought, comment below, let me know. And as always, if you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, click right here to see more.